Welcome. This is the training for East Oakland Youth Development Center database. There's going to be a series of training videos. This is the first one, so this is going to be a very basic high-level overview of how the database works. So first things first, in order to access the database, you'll need to go to the URL, which is eoydc.civicore.com. Once you get there, you'll be presented with this user login screen. And all you need to do is type in your email and your previously entered password. If you do not have an account in the database yet, just contact the appropriate person at EOYDC. If you ever forget your password during the time you use the database, you can always press this forgot password link, type in your email, and it will send you a link with an email with a link that you can follow, and it'll just let you reset your password and log you in. If you remember your password, you can just go ahead and type it in and press login. So once you're logged into the system, it will take you to the home page. And the first time you log in, it will be blank like you see here. The home page is just a place where you can post reminders, you can post saved reports that you want to see, you can totally customize it, and we'll get into that later. But for now, there are a couple things that are sort of pre-programmed in for you to add. And to do that, you can just go to Dashboard Library and add which ones you want. So if I wanted to add, I'll add all of them except the birthdays. So now you can see that these popped up on my dashboard. Some of them should be bigger, so you can make them bigger. You can also, if there's a lot of reminders you have, you might want to expand it to show them. You can also collapse it. This one's huge, so I'm going to collapse it a little bit this way. You can also drag and drop them. So if you want to see announcements first, if you don't really care about system links, you can remove reminders over here, and you can set it up however you want. If you decide you don't want a dashboard item, you can always delete it by pressing this little trash icon, and it just goes back in the dashboard library. So if you ever want to add it again, it'll be here. It won't ever completely go away. So once you have your dashboard set up, you can explore the rest of the system. And I'm just going to give you a demonstration using the participants section, but it's kind of the same structure throughout all of the different sections you see. The basic layout is the more high-level sections are listed across the top horizontally. So these are the main buckets of information that the database is tracking. So it's tracking participants, households, programs, activities, organizations, contact staffs. Reporting, there's a separate training for, and admin functions are kind of more specialized areas that we'll go into later. So to start with, I'm going to jump into participants just to show you the layout. In all of the sections, once you click on it, the system is going to show you a list of all the information in that section. So in this case, this is a list of all of the participants that are in the system right now. And so you can see they're listed by first name, last name, date of birth, age. You can also search if you want to jump directly to somebody's record. You can search. Sometimes we refer to these items on the list as records. It's just a term held over from Excel, so you can think of every item or participant on this list as a record, like a row in the Excel sheet. That's helpful. And every section is also going to allow you to do 3 actions, main actions, so you can see the buttons. Over here, each section is going to allow you to add a new record. So in this case, it's going to allow me to add a new participant. You can also view a record or edit a record. And so I'm going to go ahead and press Add New. And this is going to take me to a list that looks really similar. And the purpose of this list is to help to keep duplicates out of the system. So you'd never want to have 2 records representing the same participant. You can imagine that if they update their phone number, either you'll have to update the phone number in 2 different places, or you'll forget to update the second one, and then you'll never know which phone number is actually correct because both records will have different information. So you never want to have duplications. You can see here that Jane Doe is duplicated twice, and so I'm going to show you in a minute how to get rid of duplicates. But the first step is prevention. So the system will ask you to type in who you're wanting to enter, or you enter them to make sure they don't already exist. So if I'm adding myself, in this case, pretend I'm a participant, I will see that, oh, Amy's already in the system, so I shouldn't add her again. Instead, if you're wanting to update the information about a participant, you can press Edit. And that will take you to their information. And say I'm trying to add an email address for Amy, I can just go here and type it in. And that way I don't add a whole new record and I don't duplicate information. And it also is going to require you to add a bunch of other things, which you'll have handy when you go to add a participant. I'm not going to fill them out now just for time. But that's what edit does. It basically lets you add information onto that record. So I'm going to go ahead and go back. And now I'm going to show you what it's like to add a participant that's not in the system yet. So let's type in Andy and see if there's anyone called. So there's no one called Andy in the system. Therefore, you can be confident that you're not adding a duplicate. So go ahead and press no matches, add new participant. This is saying we're good to go. We're not duplicating information. And this is going to take you to what we call the basic information of our participant. Hopefully you'll have all of this information at your fingertips when you go to enter participant. But basic info is pretty much information about a participant that's not going to change over time. For example, date of birth, gender, a couple ethnicity, a couple other things. Or if they do change, you don't necessarily need to know what was there before. So for example, if someone only speaks English now and then they know to read and write later on, say, you never need to know that originally they only spoke and didn't read and write. Or for example, if they change their email address, you don't necessarily need to know the old email address. Same for address, you don't necessarily need to know where they used to live, you just need to know where they live now. So that's what basic information is. For information that you do track over time, that's going to be in the tabs, which I'll show you next. So in real life, you'd probably fill all of this out and then press submit. So let's go back and I will jump into a record to show you those sub-tabs. And just as a note, when you go to other sections of the system, so for example, activities or contacts, you're going to see the same exact layout as you see here. There's going to be a list of activities and there's going to be an add new button. Over here, there's going to be view and edit. Same for contacts. There's going to be an add new contacts button. Very, very same structure throughout the whole system. So I'm just going to show you participants for this training video, but just know that this generalizes to other areas of the system. So let's just jump into a record real quick. And I'm going to show you the sub-tabs or the tabs. So like I said, basic information doesn't change over time. However, if you want to track anything that does change over time, that's going to be information that lives in one of these tabs. And so you can see that there's a bunch of different sort of buckets of information that we're tracking in the system. And because we're inside Clayton's record right now, all of this information is going to pertain to Clayton specifically. So for example, activities, this is going to list all the activities that Clayton is part of. It's not anyone else, it's just Clayton. And he's not in any activities right now, but you can imagine if he was, there'd be information showing up here. So that's how sub-tabs work. And it works the same way across the system. Like I said, when you go to contacts, there's going to be sub-tabs. Although they're going to look different than what you're seeing now, it's going to be buckets of information that apply to the record you're in. So these are buckets of information that apply to Clayton's record in the system. So that's generally how the structure of the system works. A couple handy things just to note is that on some of these sections, you'll see these little list icons, and this is just a couple helpful tools you can use to do things faster. So if you're in the system and you know you want to look for someone, say you want to update someone's record, you can actually type their name into the little search bar there, and it'll take you right to their record in the list, so you don't have to click on the list, then click on full name and search for them. It's just a little handy way that'll save you a couple seconds here and there. Another one is adding a new participant, and so you can do that really quickly if you know you're going to add a new participant. And then the last one is duplicate checker, which I kind of shared with you why you might need this. But basically, it lists all the duplicates in the system. So here's Jane Doe, we saw her earlier, and you'll want to merge them. So you can compare, merge this match. It'll show you all the information that's in the system on her now. You can choose to keep, which side you want to keep. So these are all very similar. But if the data is out of sync, you can choose which one you want, and then you merge, and it basically creates one record for Jane Doe. So that's the basics, and good luck in the system.